Hello, hello, hello. Thank you, audience, for being with me today. As always, I adore you, and I want to give a shout out to all my Belgium audience, as well as all of my US audience, and my Canadian audience, because you're my top three. And everybody else who's listening all over the world, I appreciate and adore you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So today is another one of those healing conversations where I'm going to talk about feelings and healing. And the reason that we do these once a month is because without looking at our own shit, as I could call it, our emotional stuff or baggage or trauma, whatever you want to call it, we cannot have an orgasmic life. The reason my life is so orgasmic and I'm off gallivanting and frolicking and living the dream is because I work through my stuff. And that is crucial. And all of my relationship dynamics, they're awesome because that's part of one of the soul standards that I have in all of my relationship dynamics, whether it's work, friendship, lovers, partners, whatever it is that we all look at our shit. We all work on our shit. So again, if you're like, oh, this does not sound like a sexy episode, it's not going to be a sexy episode. But it's an important episode because without talking about these things and looking at these things, we cannot fully be orgasmic and have an orgasmic life. Okay. So, all right. So today's topic is anxiety. Oh, not sexy. How anxiety is so not sexy. And not only are we going to talk about anxiety, but we're going to talk about how I've been struggling with anxiety, which is also very not sexy because that's not, that does not go with my persona. My persona having being kicking ass, ethical, consensual world domination, and being, seriously kicking ass in the world. So anxiety is really has been kicking my ass, and I want to talk about that because I think it's important for my audience to see that. Well, it's this whole full disclosure, real, raw, honest stuff that I talk about all the time. So I'm going to have an uncomfortable conversation, which if you haven't listened to episode, which is vulnerability, episode 224, where I talk about my fears of showing weakness and vulnerability, that would be a great episode to watch to understand why this conversation is really uncomfortable for me. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit. I actually want to just give you a little backstory on my experience with anxiety, because people have different experiences with anxiety, and I'm not an anxiety expert. And I'm an expert in many things, but anxiety is not one of them. And so I'm not going to talk from anxiety from a clinical standpoint. I'm going to talk about it from my experience. Okay. So that's a really important piece of this conversation. And I hope some of it lands for you, resonates with you, may inspire you. But if you are yourself listening to this and you are having major panic attacks and anxiety attacks, you need to reach out and get some professional support. Medication may be the answer to that, may be helpful in that. I can help in the departments around the psychological side of things and, finding strategies to do some, management of it. But if you really are struggling, please reach out and get some professional medical support, because medication may help ease that pieces. Okay. So that's the content warning today. Okay. All right. So I want to go, so first of all, I didn't realize I actually suffered from anxiety. I'm 47 years old and I had no idea. Actually, dead. And you're like, what? What do you mean, Gaia? How could you not know? So here's how I didn't know. I had really great coping strategies that squashed all feelings of anxiety. And those coping strategies weren't actually healthy. And so I got rid of those coping strategies. And then after I got rid of those coping strategies, it turns out I have low grade anxiety all the time about everything. Who knew? Not me, apparently. Because if I did, in all fairness, I probably may not have got rid of some of those coping strategies. No, in all fairness, I would have still gotten rid of those coping strategies. But so here were my coping strategies to suppress and override all of my anxiety. Coping strategy number one, being an uber control freak. And being a control freak is different than being a leader or a dom. Being a control freak is that person that must micromanage everything and everyone all the time about everything. And all of you control freaks who are listening to me right now, you know what I'm talking about. Now, it took me years to realize that being a control freak was a defense mechanism. It was a coping strategy to deal with not feeling safe, which turns out it goes hand in hand with anxiety for me. So I spent years rewiring that, reprocessing that, dealing with that. As soon as I started feeling like I needed to be uber controlling and being a control freak, I would then be like, well, what's wrong and what's not safe and what do I need to do? And I would like course correct at the root problem. And then I wouldn't be a control freak and finding Zen. And my whole life, every day is all about the Zen, finding the Zen, be the Zen. Okay, that's what that looks like. My second coping strategy to suppress all feelings of anxiety were cookies. Actually, before I get to the cookies, was smoking. So I quit smoking over 2 years ago. And without nicotine, and not only the nicotine, but also all of the rituals that go along with smoking and going outside and removing myself from situations that were uncomfortable, that were creating anxiety. And the nicotine suppressed the feelings of anxiety in my body and my nervous system. It calmed my nervous system down. So when I quit smoking, all of a sudden, that's when I started to see fully. That's when anxiety started, like panic attacks, anxiety started kicking in for me. I had no idea that I even had any of that stuff, to be honest. Like between the being a control freak and the nicotine of smoking, it really suppressed that. It really suppressed all feelings of anxiousness, heart racing, heart palpitations, sweating, being freezing cold. Those are some of the signs for me when I'm feeling anxious: nausea, irritable, kicking in my irritable bowel. There's so those were two coping strategies. Let's come back to the cookies. The third coping strategy was to eat my anxiety away. So cookies were my go-to food for dealing with when I was feeling anxious. I would just shove a lovely cookie into my pie hole, and then I was happy, no anxiety. Eat it away. Then I changed my diet drastically because I was having all sorts of digestion issues and all sorts of stuff. So I had to rebuild my digestion. And so I took out cookies and refined sugar. I took out everything in my diet, basically. And so then I no longer had food, and especially cookies, to deal with my anxiety. So I get rid of all three coping strategies. And what I'm left with is one giant ball of nervous anxiety that's vomiting all over the place and terrified to leave the house. And having a really hard time in the world, really. The confident, cocky, arrogant, and playful version of me has been very challenging to keep her alive when I'm constantly feeling in the background this low grade to high grade anxiety all the time. So, what do I do about it? Well, first things first. I need to find out what the fuck? Why the hell am I anxious about everything all the time? So, where do I go? I go to my inner child sanctuary. So, I'm just going to do a little quick thing about what is a child sanctuary and the thing. And then in the extended version, I'm going to actually teach you how to set up an inner child, the beginning stages of an inner child sanctuary. Okay. Because it's one of the key ingredients of the work that I do with all of my clients, all my trauma clients, all my clients, as well as I've taught it to many, many people, as well as many other therapists and coaches. They use these techniques because this works so well. It allows you to have a direct connection, a direct line to your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind controls pretty much 80% to 90% of what you think, feel, do, and are in the world. And you have no awareness of your conscious brain only makes up 10 to 20%. So what you're consciously aware of. Your subconscious is what's running the show. And often your subconscious is moving from beliefs and ideas and behaviors that were usually developed in early childhood. So think about it this way. Basically, 7-year-olds are running all of your decisions and affecting everything about your life. Okay? So that's what your subconscious basically is like a child that only has so many skills and so many tools at its disposal at that age when it was developed to understand the world. Sorry, I'm taking a drink. Okay. So I have, and you want to know more about this and you're like, ooh, I'm fascinated by this. I did an episode called Advanced Inner Child Work, the Flush Method. And that episode is 112. Okay. All right. So I go to my sanctuary. And my sanctuary is the place where I have direct conversations with all of my subconscious. And my subconscious shows up for me in many different kids' forms. That's how it shows up for me. And so I go into my subconscious, I go to the sanctuary in my imagination, basically. And I ask him, like, all right, so why are we anxious all the time about everything? And it turns out I have a series of kids that are constantly anxious because everything I do is new, and everything new is potential risk factor and dangerous. So therefore, they're trying to keep me safe. So they are creating anxiety in me. And because I never do, no 2 days are the same in my world, I'm constantly in a state of anxiety because I am also a risk taker. So you can see the dilemma. I have part of me is like adventurous. I love new things. Let's be a risk taker. Go, let's try. Ooh, that's new. That's exciting. The possibilities. So part of me is a big part of me. It's all about adventure, newness, risk-taking, possibilities. Which you can see how that might distress the aspects of myself that feel like anything new is dangerous and is anxiety producing. So you can see the conundrum right now in my life. So the first thing is that, I go have a conversation. I find out what's going on. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do about this? So I then utilize my tools of my kids and my inner kids and my inner sanctuary. And I have, some conversations about, where does that come from? And it turns out that my whole childhood, which is true, my whole childhood was every moment of every day with some kind of anxiety, crisis, drama producing moment. Every time I left the house, it was said if we were going on an adventure, we run out of gas. There was like no toilet paper. There's only one roll of toilet paper. So even going to the bathroom in my house was an adventure with chaos and crisis. There was like just growing up in my world so that was the low grade stuff to all of my trauma and all of my abuse happened when I left the house. So, going out of the house was, always not always, but often led to either some kind of crisis, drama, experience that, one of my parents called an adventure. And, or I got abused by extended family. So, needless to say, I can totally see. It totally makes sense. I can totally see why my subconscious like new is unsafe and bad. Because as a child, that's the truth. That was new was unsafe, actually unsafe and bad. So once I got the knowledge, I'm like, okay, great. Now I know where this is coming from. I feel like, okay, that's good. So now I acknowledge that I have anxiety. I figured out why I'm anxious all the time about everything, because every moment of my day is all about adventure, like adventure seeking new possibilities. Like even this podcast, new, this conversation, new. So I've been doing work on in my sanctuary with my inner kids, helping them to become basically safe adventurers, and that adventures and new possibilities can be beautiful, and we always make sure that we're safe when we do them, and we only take risks that are calculated risks. So the risk reward is algorithm is important, and so recalibrating the part of my subconscious mind to, with lots of proof and lots of hand holding and lots of conversations about how new is okay, new now is okay, new now is safe, adventures can be fun now because I'm in control of those adventures. We're in control of those adventures. And so slowly, it's been about, I don't know, about a month and a half now, maybe 2 months. Yeah, about 2 months of like doing the work, going in, doing the things, talking to the things, doing the things, course correcting, doing things, right? That I would say my anxiety has decreased to about maybe about 50%. So we're making progress, because I was anxious 100% of the time. So that's only 50% of the time. Yay! I am very excited. I'm looking forward to maybe being anxious only 10% of the time with like really extreme things. That would be great. I'm work in progress. But what I'm finding, another piece of this, so that's one of the pieces of the work that I've been doing, a lot of subconscious recalibrating, course correcting, reprogram, all the things, all the reparenting, everything that I've been doing in the subconscious. I've increased my meditation. So I've increased my zenning time. So I was doing only like theta meditation for about 30 minutes in the morning. I'm now doing about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours in the morning of zenning. And midday, I'll do a 20-minute meditation in midday to like reset my nervous system and recalibrate my nervous system, which is good. And the other big part of this is admitting that I have anxiety. because anxiety feels like a weakness. And watch the episode that I did on episode 224, where I talk about weakness and vulnerability and the fear of that and where that comes from for me. But it feels like having anxiety for me feels like a huge weakness. So, oh, sorry, might be nap time after this episode. So, where was I? Oh, it's so talking about that I have anxiety, admitting I have anxiety, and telling the people around me that I'm having anxiety in the moment is also been an important part of me reclaiming and taking back the power in this and not feeling and managing it. So that was really hard. Telling the people around me that, hey, I'm anxious, or hey, I'm struggling with anxiety, and everybody looking at me like I had like 100 heads. What are you talking about? You're not anxious. You're fearless. You're fearless of everything. I'm like, yeah, apparently that's a lie. Turns out that might be a lie. It's not a lie. But it can be a lie sometimes. So that was a big part, was to letting the people know what was going on with me, the people who are closest to me, letting them know, and apparently letting the world now know, because I just told you guys. It went from inner circle to the outer world. Oh, the joys of my orgasmic life. So anyways, all right, and this is the piece that was the most important part of that for me, in telling the people that were closest to me that I was anxious or I was having an anxiety moment. One, they had no idea. Well, I had no idea. I hid it really well. And when I started in the last 2 years, I've done a really good job of just suppressing it and just hiding it. And also becoming more recluse, so people didn't know. When we weren't watching, they weren't seeing, they weren't paying attention, they wouldn't know. And so I was hiding it. And so when I came out, it's what it felt like. I was like coming out, that I had been struggling with anxiety. And people are like, what? They had at first they had a really hard time believing it. And then what typically then ends up happening is the people around you then want to fix it, because, people want to fix things. They love you. They want to fix the things that make you're uncomfortable. They want you to not be uncomfortable. So they want to do everything that they can to fix it, but they can't actually fix it. No one else can fix it. Some of it can't be fixed. Some of it can be managed. But I don't think it can be fixed. And I think I can, I believe that I can learn to manage it and cope with it, and come up with good strategies to deal with it. But I suspect, for me anyways, that there will be some low grade stuff, always, because there's in that continual conundrum of the conflict of my being, right? One parts of me want the stability that I never had as a child. And a big part of me is all about adventure. And I live on the edge of adventure. I don't do anything normal or the same, or I don't have a normal job. I don't have a normal life. I don't have normal relationships. I my favorite place to travel in the world is the jungles of Costa Rica and the Amazon. And my ideal trip is going down the Amazon River for 6 months. And my need for adventure is deep in my soul. And my need for trying to be safe when I didn't have safety, which is to create stability, is also deep in my soul. So with that conflict that exists within me, there will be some semblance. Like I said, I believe that I will be able to manage it really well, and navigate it well, and continue to grow. And maybe only 10% of the time I have anxiety, and when I have those anxiety moments, I can manage it really well, and process it really well and move through it quite quickly. But as far as it being completely gone. I'm not sure if that's possible. If it is, I will be the first to tell you, I promise. Okay. I'm all for get rid of shit fully. But so back to my peeps. So I tell my peeps that I'm struggling with anxiety, and that I'm going to start telling people that I'm anxious in the moment that I'm anxious, not after the fact, but in the moment. And so what starts happening is people start trying to fix it, and they try to, what can I do? And blah, 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 and all the stuff. And, or they're like, well, there's nothing to be anxious about. Or, people say and do things because they love you, but they don't always say and do things that are best for you in that moment. So what I needed to do is ask for what I needed. And what I needed from my people was not for them to fix it or to try to fix it. What I needed from them was just to bear witness and say, oh, that sucks, hon. Is there anything I can do? And just ask me that question. Oh, that sucks, hon. Is there anything I can do? And if there is something, I can ask for it. And when I do, and I will. And that's it. That's all there is to be done by it. There's nothing else anybody can do with it. And so it's everybody in my life has been great. That's why they're in my life, because they're fabulous. And once I asked for that from my peeps, they've gotten really good at being like, hon, that sucks. Anything I could do? And sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, other than me just riding it out. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. That's what's happening with my adventures with anxiety. See, I'm sure even the language, the adventures of anxiety. Yes, it is. It's an adventure. I don't know. Yeah, it's again, I had no idea. Like, seriously, when I say I had no idea, I really had no idea that I was actually had all of this anxiety under the surface of my life all the time. So yes, getting rid of those 3 coping strategies definitely brought anxiety to the surface. But I think the other part, and this is another important piece of why I didn't know, is because I'd never felt zen. I was never calm. I was never zen. I was always on high alert. I was always in survival mode. I had anxiety, but it wasn't as big as the DEFCON 10 of like just being on guard all the time and go, 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 go. And what started to happen, I think the other piece is that I know the difference between, I've finally come to these beautiful places through many different ways, through BDSM is one of them. Meditation is a huge, another one. Just breathing and being in my body, and mindfulness is another one. So that my whole life, like all day long, my goal is to stay as calm and zen as possible and still be active and functioning and joyful and all the things. And so that's like my new soul's purpose, is to find the calm, find the zen. And part of that finding the zen is because when I'm not zen, I can't digest anything. And I really like to eat more than blueberries and cauliflower and steak. I mean, those are good, but if I'm not zen and I'm not in that place of calm and stillness, my whole nervous system's out of whack, and my nervous system's out of whack affects my digestion. If my digestion is out of whack, it affects my ability to function in the world, physically function. So it's become my new life's mission to find the zen in each moment. Just as I find the pleasure in each moment, I'm like a zen pleasure seeking being these days. And so I think that's the other part that happened, was that I always had the anxiety under the surface, but my other stuff was so much louder that I didn't really feel the anxiety with the help of those other 3 coping strategies when my anxiety spiked to where just before I would start to feel it. So now I have stillness, I have quiet, my brain can quiet down. I have like go to the subspace. This is beautiful places, but then when I'm not there, I can feel the anxiety and it feels horrible. It's awful. It's such a contrast between stillness and calm and zen and peace and tranquility. It's like versus oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Like that's like such a different contrast that I can feel it more. So I think that's another reason why I'm feeling more of it. It's because when I'm not in anxiety, I'm in calm and I'm in zen, which is a complete polar opposite of that world of anxiety. So yeah, so I hope that was inspirational. I hope that one, it helped you get to know me a little bit better. And two, that it may inspire you to be like, oh, how am I moving with my, my inner world? And maybe it might inspire you to go deeper into understanding your subconscious. And, I hope it sparked a curiosity and a fascination on how to communicate with your subconscious mind. So I'm going to talk about how to set up the beginning stages of your inner child sanctuary. If you really want, if you're curious and you want to know about that, join my Gaia Morissette special membership program, where all the extended and bonus content and uncensored content lives. And as a reminder, as always look at the write-ups of things so you know what you're getting yourself into. Very important to prevent triggers. It's like your trigger warning, your content warning. And thank you. Thank you for being on this adventure with me. Thank you for giving me a forum to share real and raw and honest. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening. Please, tell your people, help me spread the word in the world about how you can live fully and completely and full out and have a my orgasmic life as well. And you can, if you need some support, individual support and coaching, you can always reach out to me at GaiaMorissette.com. Mwah! Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Well, I hope today's episode inspired you, encouraged you, and of course, made you feel tingly inside. I just want to take a moment to tell you how much I appreciate the time that you spend and how I really deeply appreciate you listening. I do it for you guys, the audience, and I love and adore you guys. So, quick loving reminder, I am not available for naked pictures, getting married, having sex, or having anybody's babies. And when you want to spend more time with me in a professional capacity as your coach, your teacher, your educator, your facilitator, you can reach me at GaiaMorissette.com. That's the gateway to all things Gaia. Now, if you're like, oh, I really wonder what's in the extended version. I also lovingly invite you to follow me on Instagram, which the handle is My Orgasmic Life Podcast, where you can leave feedback and comments. Also come join me on Facebook at My Orgasmic Life Podcast Facebook group. And I really want to hear from you. I want to know how this show affected you. What did you learn? Was it inspirational? Did you agree? Do you disagree? I want to know, because I'm a little bit of a voyeur. So I want to know how am I affecting you? So please come leave some comments. Now, if you're like, but I don't want everybody to know what I'm thinking, which is okay. Sometimes we need privacy and we need to be anonymous. So you would like that option? We have that. You can email my slutty assistant, Layla, at GaiaMorissette.com. Okay, listeners, until next time, may your life be filled with sexy exploration and orgasmic pleasure. Mwah. Bye bye.